All right. Wait for this to pop up on my YouTube here. Wait for this to pop up on YouTube. Okay, sweet. I guess we mute this. All right. All right. So usually takes a little while for people to roll in, so we could keep talking for a little while. We'll see who shows up here. Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing? I'm gonna be chatting off of my girlfriend's YouTube here, so I'll pop a message in there. Maya Victoria is me, so if you guys see me chatting in there, it's just better for me to go that way. I might have to stop doing this on my phone because I'll tell you the phone is a little bit of a pain in the butt for for seeing everything, especially because I'm blind. But all right. So we have a different. I like you, Colin. So hon. So I know it's a Colin. Do you go by Colin or what do you
Yes.
what Yeah,
Yeah.
Colin. All right, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. I was born Andrew in Scotland. My parents never intended to use Andrew as my first name. My mother was a school teacher, and at the time, I guess the kids were teasing each other about their initials. So she did not want my initials to be CAF because she thought I would be teased about being a calf. Now, with a name like Flood, I don't know why they would go, so much further to tease me about being a calf. But anyway, she never wanted my initials to be CAF. I've never used Andrew in my entire life, but I have to say, after 9/11, it has been really problematic because now everybody's insisting on complete and full IDs. So
Mm,
everybody who doesn't know me, doctors and officers and whatever, they all insist on calling me Andrew, and that just indicates to me they don't know who I am.
I gotcha. All right. So this is my friend Colin here. Hey, what's up, Dad? My dad's out in the chat there. Um, Branton, collaboration of curiosities. We got Jorge out there. All right. So like I was saying, we got a little bit of a different live stream today. I don't have a fishy news planned for today, guys. I'm a little bit behind. I got a vacation coming up this weekend. It's been a busy week. So we're gonna be just sticking to like an interview today, talking about a very interesting guy here, Colin. He is he has been working on a nutritional comparison of over 400 fish foods compared to price, nutritional value, um, a whole bunch of data, and he's going to share some of that info with us, guys. He is blowing a hole in the whole disguise of what is fish food really. All right, we have so many brands, so many different descriptions of food. When you're reading it, you're reading through all these ingredients, all this different stuff that's in it, but really what are we actually paying for? And Colin is definitely doing some work that I think needed to be done. And when I had been seeing him on Facebook for a while now, actually, I had seen, I think you had posted something on one of the aquarium groups at least, man, probably a year ago, maybe. And I had seen you talk about the whole list, and then about, I would say about a month ago, I think I started seeing you post like single kind of like comparisons of like the specific foods or something. I had seen something. Anyways, I came up with the idea that maybe you'd want to share that with everybody and get some people to actually see the work and that you've been putting in, because like there's not very many people that go on a journey like that, man. That's a lot of comparisons, a lot of data, a lot of, and so I just thought it was really interesting. Yeah, Brandon, that's what I'm thinking, man. It's so our friend Colin here, he's also lived a very interesting life. I did a little bit of Facebook snooping, and on your about section, a lot of interesting careers, education stuff, different things you've done for your life. He's also a volunteer at the Florida Aquarium. Hey, dude, I'm loving the cards, man. That is really gonna add something special to this, man. I'm very grateful for that. But he's been a volunteer at the Florida Aquarium. He's done freshwater, saltwater. We were talking a little bit before we got on the stream here. Um, yeah. So, Colin, do you want to? Because I know we just talked about this, but we didn't share it with everybody. So you want to basically start where what we were talking about earlier with I don't know. I guess your background a little bit. Maybe what kind of inspired you to start on this journey of comparing all of the foods.
Well, I am a writer, and that's what you do as a technical writer. For example, if you were to capitalize or monetize your fish business, you might want to start a franchise. If you started a franchise, you might want a policy and procedures manual. You would hire a technical writer like me to codify and document all of your policies and procedures. So, the cribs are dying off all of a sudden. What does a franchisee do except call you? Or you might have it in your manual. Go to section 13.1, and there will be your steps on what you do if your cribs are dying off. Isolate them, quarantine them, switch tanks, clean the tanks. Those kind of policies and procedures that you found to be effective. Or you might say, hey, you need to introduce some new wild stock. You've inbred too much, and it's time for you to add some breeders from the outside. That could be, policy procedure. So that's what I did as a technical writer. As a writer for my high school newspaper, I read a book by Martin Mayer about bankers and wrote about economics. And I got sent to a National Science Foundation Economics Institute when I was a kid at St. Olaf College, and took about 4 years of college economics in one summer, 5.5 days, down in St. Olaf, Northfield, Minnesota. And then when I did go to undergraduate school, economics was one of my minors again. Although at the time it made practical sense, I was paying for my degree myself along with scholarships and grants. So taking econ again was the easy course. Looking back on it, I realized that really I was wasting money because I'd already taken those courses. So I think of myself as an aquarium economist. I'm always looking at this morning, how much shampoos cost. They're all water. And a lot of our frozen fish foods are all water. If you look at the actual dry content of either shampoos or fish foods, what are you really getting and what are you really paying for? And so it started with the Great Recession. When I was forced to move home, I didn't have a job literally for years. And quite frankly, I've never worked as a technical writer since the Great Recession. But I had to have an aquarium, at least something, even though I was living at home. So I had a bowl. I kept the betta in a bowl. Go ahead and castigate me for it. I've done that for decades, wrote articles about it. I would swish the water around about once a week, stir it up, pour off about 50% and do a 50% water change. I added a live plant, typically a banana plant, and maybe a shrimp to clean up after the betta. And I had a betta on a bowl, and I went to buy some betta food, and that's when I noticed that betta food better food is actually pretty expensive. I was looking at what you get on the food, and most commercial fish foods are fish meal, and most fish meal is what? It's a silvery sardine, anchovy, herring type fish, of which there's about 300 of them, of which about 70% of it comes from the coast of Peru, and the rest is what? What is the rest? Well, the rest is often cereals and cereal grains, along with vitamins. Thank goodness, because there is some thought that freeze drying or processing foods may degrade the vitamins. And then, of course, there's additives and preservatives, some of which may or may not enhance the color, although there's very few color foods on the market. And that's when I started, looking at them. I'm like, these better foods are a ripoff. They're ripping off the consumer. You will have a company, not necessarily this one, but you will have a company charge 2 to 3 times more for their Siamese fighting food, and the ingredients will be exactly the same as their tropical flakes, fish foods. So, that's a ripoff of the consumer. It's a ripoff of the Siamese fighting fish hobbyist.
Yeah, what I was going to say too with betta, Siamese fighting fish bettas, they're primarily like if a beginner is getting in the hobby, that's the fish they're going to go to a lot of the time. So they're taking advantage of people that just don't have any background knowledge in what they're doing, and
Yeah.
like that, it's just completely like just not moral. Like it's like, to me it feels like it's literally like
Yeah.
kind of robbing people,
Yeah, the people that you're in business for. Gee, my screen looks really cloudy. The people that you're in business with, the commercial fish food people, they should know better. And to continue along the same vein, Siamese fighting fish, Betta splendens, are insectivores, right? They rest near the surface of the water with that scowling mouth of theirs, which is designed to go up and scoop some little insect off the surface of the water. Now, the good news is that, and I'm not sure why, they've started to breed black soldier fly. And now we have foods that have black soldier fly larvae in the foods. They're not necessarily cheap, but it's actually an insect food for an insectivore, for an insect-eating fish, like the Siamese fighting fish. So this food is actually what they should be selling for Siamese fighting fish. But unfortunately, most of what they're selling is just your typical fish meal food. This is not typical, with cereal. And about a third of the foods out there are nothing but fish meal with cereal.
All right, so Colin, Mr. Flood is what we're going with. I love that last name, by the way. Like that for an aquarium hobbyist. For an aquarium hobbyist, I just find that fantastic. So just got to point that out there. But Mr. Flood, we have a question from the comments here. Coral Works. If you were going to make a short list of things to look for the average consumer, like 3 to 5 rules of thumb, I guess what would you do? My big one is everything below the fat is a 10%.
I'm not sure what that means. Everything below the fat is a 10%.
Yeah, no, that part I'm confused about. But I guess some rules of thumb for looking at what's an easy way for a beginner to be able to get a hold of healthy food for nutritional value? What should they look for, I suppose?
Actually, that's a very good first question. Thank you. First, I would look for meat. I would look for meat as a first ingredient. Almost all of Kyle's fish that I can think of are omnivores, which means they eat everything, right? They eat everything that they can just nibble and grab their mouth upon. Usually some meats, usually some veggies or plant material of some kind, they'll taste whatever's floating by and either consume it or spit it out. But I would look for meats. I would look for meats as the first ingredient, maybe the first two or three ingredients. Um, here is one, for example, just one. I do have a list, and I can share that page of companies that have four meats. There's six of them that I've listed. They have four meats. So I would look for something that has two, three, four meats as the first ingredient on the back. This one is a veggie kelp. And guess what? First ingredient, I'm looking on the back here, is whole kelp, then spirulina. So that's two veggies. And then whole salmon, then halibut, and then whole shrimp. That's actually a lot of nutritious ingredients for an atypical food, which is maybe why I own it. And then, of course, the rest is the typical wheat flour, wheat gluten. Oh my goodness, additives, preservatives. Some of the stuff that you may not want. But I would look for a meat ingredient, particularly some of the frozen foods are whole meats, scallops, squid. Squid is extremely nutritious for all fish. Some shrimp. It doesn't have to be a wonderfully nutritious food like salmon. Salmon has pigments, which were really beneficial. It also has omega-3 oils in it, very beneficial. Possibly one of the most nutritious foods you can feed, but it doesn't have to be just salmon. Tuna is very good. You can feed cheap tilapia. You can feed cheap flounder. You can feed cheap bream. Those are natural foods from the grocery store too, by the way. It doesn't always have to be a commercial fish food.
Okay, so Coro commented here. As I understand it, fish food ingredient lists are percentage based. The first ingredients are the largest quantity, the last the smallest, and then you can determine the ratio based on the guaranteed analysis.
Right. If a food is going to be sold in the United States, it has to have a guaranteed analysis. The food is actually regulated by the FDA. It's a product going on the shelf, and it falls under the purview of the FDA. They have to have a guaranteed analysis. Some companies do not, especially like on eBay or even Amazon sometimes. You'll see they don't have it, and it's expensive. They have to pay an independent lab to do it. If a food has 20 ingredients, which is not unusual, then the main ingredient may only be 5 or 6% of what it is you're actually getting. So a food might list salmon as a first ingredient. What do we have here? We have whole herring. As a first ingredient. But you know what? This is a good food, comparatively speaking. It's got a lot of meats in it, but it's also got a lot of other things. It can have wheat flour, which it does, wheat gluten, and that can take up a lot of that space. So even though this one lists herring as a first ingredient, you don't really know how much of that you're actually getting. And that's why some of the frozen or the freeze-dried foods that are just one ingredient are actually relatively good. If you go to the grocery store or an Asian restaurant and you buy salmon, or you buy a cheap fish like bream or flounder, or you even buy sushi nori, the seaweed, you are getting 100% of that food. In something like this, you have no clue how much you're getting. This is a relatively good food, but whole herring may only be 5 or 6% of what you're actually paying for, and a lot of it can be these other minor ingredients, including cereals.
Okay, so Coro says a dry food has to be less than 10% fat in order to be dry. Most of the time, the first 4 to 5 ingredients of a fish food are 80% of the food, but you can cut a single fish into 5 ingredients if you want to make your fish food look good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Most dry foods are 90% dry. which means there is some 10% moisture. The problem with frozen foods is like shampoo, right? First ingredient
A
in
lot of water.
shampoo is water. A lot of water. A lot of water. For goodness sakes, go to Walmart, go to the bait shop, buy yourself half a dozen different foods. Maybe not for somebody that's got 18 tanks. Buy yourself half a dozen different foods at the bait shop. Use a fork and scrape them in like I do, or throw them into a blender and blend it up with some veggies and some vitamins, and create your own. And it's a hell of a lot more nutritious and a hell of a lot less expensive.
So got two comments here. So rather than trusting 4 to 5 ingredients down on the ingredient list, look for whatever fats. I gotta stop reading this off there. I can read it totally better on here. All right. Most of the time, the first 4 to 5 ingredients of a fish food are. Oh wait, no. So rather than trusting 4 to 5 ingredients down on the ingredient list, look for whatever fat source they have. Usually salmon or herring oil. In my experience, everything after that doesn't matter much. And then red laser, is food higher in general with wheat as flake type?
Um, Higher in general with wheat as flake type. I'm not sure what red means about that. But yeah, I wouldn't trust that any food that has more than just a few ingredients is actually giving you a lot of those ingredients. You know, if it's got if it's got two or three ingredients, then you're getting a lot of what that is. For example, this is Tetra. It was only $1 at Walmart. Discontinued. Had to buy it. Only $1. First ingredient is fish meal. Guess what? I'm absolutely sure that the first ingredient really is fish meal. I'm absolutely sure that most fish meal is that silvery, oily anchovy, sardine, herring type fish that comes off of Peru, that's used as meal for animal feeds all over the world. I'm absolutely certain that this is mostly fish meal. And second ingredient comes from fish oil, which means, you know what, they're just grinding up the entire fish to make the fish meal, and they're getting a lot of fish oil in that. Not necessarily bad, ingredients. And then, of course, they go on with the cereals, the additives, the vitamins, and the preservatives.
Okay, so Red explained what he meant there. In general, is a higher content of wheat in general, do flake foods have a higher content of wheat?
It's a good question, and I would have to go back through my fish foods, and see what's in flake foods. I generally sort them in the spreadsheet for their meat content, and not their wheat content. I'm not looking for foods that have a lot of grains in them. If you're looking for foods with a lot of grains in them, which, by the way, a breeder might do, right? In a fish farm, they'll have buckets just sitting there, and the buckets are like dumping a ton of food into the pond, like, on a regular basis every few minutes. And that food is extremely cheap. It's something like, a Sportsman's Choice food out of Tractor Supply that's only a few cents per ounce. My average food is $8 per ounce, per adjusted dry ounce, after you account for the moisture. And foods like KT Koi Pond food and Sportsman's Choice, those will have grains as their first ingredient, but their price per dry ounce is pennies per ounce, compared to dollars for your typical commercial fish food.
Okay. So do you want me to bring up your paper right now so you can start explain, like, maybe if people see the would you like that?
Let me see what's on that. Yeah, go ahead. I think it's static. I don't think I can move it.
Oh, I gotcha.
But so I'm not sure what happens to be on there. Yeah, I'm not sure I can. It looks like I'm even. This is sorted by. What is this sorted by? Oh, it's sorted by the type of food. Because so this would be where I would go and look for a flake food, and then look at the ingredients of the flake food to see, are grains typical for flake food. And now that I've thought about that question a little bit, I would say about a third of the 400 foods that I've looked at have grains as a primary, meaning the first four ingredients. And about a third have meats, which means that they have something else. So here's my spreadsheet. You can kind of see, how I did things. If I don't have the guaranteed analysis, then I don't have the dry percentage. What the adjusted price is per dry ounce or per pound. And that also means with no guaranteed percentage, I don't know what they're claiming for protein. And I did try and look for which foods have the most protein per ounce. Breeders, for example, they want a high protein for the money they're spending. And they also want a high fat content for the money they're spending. And I've looked through those, and I can analyze those. Most of the fish foods that are actually sold on the shelves do indeed have the guaranteed analysis. A few of them do not have them on their website. One of them is this new one, Thin Sect, that appeared at Walmart. Very low cost food. Rumor has it that it's made by Fluker Farms. Fluker Farms has some very low cost aquatic foods. This is a very smart marketing move on their part, Fluker Farms and Walmart, for Fluker to move, from the reptile aisle to the fish food aisle at Walmart, which, has hundreds of stores, if not thousands, across the United States. And apparently it's a Walmart exclusive, and it looks like it's a very low cost, affordable food. They did not have guaranteed analysis on their website. I had to go back and actually look at the food and take pictures of it and actually pop it into the calculation to be able to include them in my spreadsheet.
So have you looked into any of the how would I call them, like more boutique foods, like people that are making their own fish foods now and selling them? Have you heard about any of those fish foods?
Well, yes, but and I've looked at some of them that are on the site. Ken's Fish is one that comes to mind immediately. He's got some very good choices, economical and nutritious. The problem is they don't have guaranteed analysis. So unless you take the car to the track and you stomp on it, you don't know how fast it goes 0 to 60. And if you don't know how quick it is, then how can I compare it? So that's the problem. Those foods, by the way, I'll pop them in, and they'll be down at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Because they don't equate, that they don't work
because of the lack of the guaranteed analysis.
Right. This, by the way, I see a couple Zoom Ed foods on the product. This might have started with that little red container that Zoom Ed has that has 3 different foods in it. That was one of the very first foods I analyzed. I was like, hey, is this a good deal? And I'll have to go and look it up. But no, it is not a good deal. You are much better off buying the actual food. I think brine shrimp is one of the ingredients. You're better off buying brine shrimp from someplace else than that little red container that they have, which once again is targeted at at betta lovers, because bettas bring a lot of people into the hobby initially, I think.
Yeah, and that was actually where we were talking about that earlier. So how do you feel about extreme foods?
They're on my list. Um, there's there's a couple of them that are very good. Um, I'm trying to see if I have it sorted here, and I can search for it. But they're like they're a little bit like Hikari, in that they have some inexpensive foods. For example, Extreme Beta is $2.72 per adjusted dry ounce. And the first ingredients are krill, shrimp meal, squid, which is very good, and then pea protein, which is a vegetable. So that's 3 meats. That's actually pretty good. And all commercial Siamese fighting fish foods, by the way, they all have vegetable or plant matter in them. And I contacted Tetra about that, and they said, studies show that vegetable matter aids in the digestion for Siamese fighting fish. Now, Siamese fighting fish are insectivores, so that doesn't seem quite logical at some point, and a lot of betta fish lovers will disagree with me, and they have. But the fact of the matter is that your cat, who is also an obligate carnivore, will consume some grass from your yard from time to time, and that's to aid with digestion. So all commercial Siamese fighting fish foods do include some vegetable or plant matter. So going back to Extreme is apparently one of the better companies for the fish food. Not too expensive.
So Brandon actually brings up an interesting point. Now, would bettas in the wild be getting plant matter via the gut load of insects?
I think you might be right. I
know?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit like gut loading the brine shrimp at Moat Marine Aquarium and also Florida Aquarium I'm at, which I'm not involved in the housekeeping with. But at Moat Marine Aquarium, and the turtles at Florida Aquarium, they gut load the prey before they feed it to the turtles. So same thing with gut loading brine shrimp. You may feed it a very nutritious diet first with vitamins and veggies, and then feed that to your fish so that your fish are getting some vitamins and veggies to aid with their digestion and nutrition.
Okay, so I gotta ask personally. So tetracolor tropical granules. This is basically a cult classic fish food. What do you think about that?
I think you can do better.
Yeah, I definitely.
My goodness, I have 24 Tetra Foods in my spreadsheet. I think I have Tetracolor, Tetra Pond, Tetra Bits. But yeah,
in my defense, I do also feed baby brine shrimp too. So I try to mix it up a little bit. But
I would mix it up a little bit more than just that. I would have different meats in addition to it. And if you read the back, you'll see what's in it, and you can decide for yourself just how good that is. If you're feeding a lot of fish, then you might want to consider something like the Sportsman's Choice that's at Tractor Supply. That's awfully cheap. KT pond pellets, extremely cheap food, and give them some variety. And some of them have meat as a first ingredient.
Yeah, this has got the fish meal, so I know that's what you're talking about, the silver nasty. And then wheat germ meal, yeah, and it's potatoes. I don't know how often fish get a hold of potatoes.
I have that in my spreadsheet somewhere, but yeah, there are foods with potatoes in there. And you know, it's a cheap filler. Potatoes can be, you know, nutritious. Let's see here. I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
I was
Does
actually gonna
this
ask.
does this does this share, or do you have to share it?
Okay,
Um,
if you bring it up to the guest spot, I can share it from there.
I'm
Yeah.
not
All right.
sure. Bring it up to the guest spot. There we go. Um, I think a lot of what you're paying for is meats, right? I mean, veggies are extremely cheap. You don't really want to go to the grocery and deal with fresh raw salmon, you know, fillets. Although you know I do, um, and tuna and tilapia. Blend those all up. But you know, if you want something easy, quick, convenient, you're rushing out the door in the morning, you kind of want a commercial fish food. So there's flukers being mentioned, aquatic turtle. So it makes sense for them to have a brand. I guess it's called this Finsect, Finsect, available at Walmart. Looks like it's maybe a quarter of the price of other fish foods. It's a very good deal. Smart move on their part. But here's six foods that have four meats, which is of course very unusual. One of them is a multi worm formula from a company called Aquatic Foods and Blackworm. Now, that's not really an Etsy or an eBay or an Amazon company because they do have guaranteed analysis. So they paid the money. So whatever that guaranteed analysis cost, they did it. And so's the second one. Very low cost foods. Of course, you know, $2.64 per adjusted ounce. Man, oh man, you better slip some Sportsman's Choice or some KT pond pellets in there, you know, and lower that cost, particularly if you're feeding ponds full of food. Um, look at Larry's Reef Herbivore Frenzy. Oh my goodness, that thing's like all
Yeah,
meats, and it's still, you know, it's per frozen ounce, but it's still $3 per frozen ounce. My average fish food, by the way, is close to $8. That's like perfume. Omega 1 in there again, Omega 1 in there again, Ocean Nutrition, which I love on the marine reef side. Ocean Nutrition has a frozen food, two of them, with sponge in the diet. And if you have reef pickers like butterfly fish and things like that in your marine reef tank, I think it's good to have some sponge in the diet, particularly if they're harassing your corals. That may be the key to why they're doing it. Or if you have some very hard to keep species like, you know, Morris idols.
Okay, so we got the two questions out here. Have you looked into North Fin? I was going to ask about North Fin, and then I'm I don't think North Fin. I don't know if North Fin has the guaranteed analysis, so I don't know if you've actually looked into them. Um, and then Dr. Basleer. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I have both of those in there. Northfin is Northfin has a I want to say it's a tropical community or tropical. Uh, Sorry, my I'm trying to look it up and my spreadsheet is going slow. But they have a food that's actually quite reasonable. And yeah, it's telling me it has to wait. Quite reasonable and quite nutritious. I've looked at them. Dr. Bessler, very popular over in Europe. I want to say those are good foods, but oh my goodness, not necessarily cheaper foods. They're not on any of my low cost lists, and I have about, I don't know, a dozen or two dozen, you know, low cost lists for pellets and flakes and frozen and that. Northfin is on one, I believe, for flakes. Bessler is not. The thing about Bessler, though, is they have a lot of different ingredients that you just don't see anywhere else. Marigold gold comes to mind. You know, if you've got golden color in your fish, where are you going to get marigold from? Well, Bessler is the one that comes to mind. Yeah, Northfin Community Formula is $1.12 for dry ounce, and it's got three meats listed. So that's actually a pretty good one. And then Bessler, um, if it responds, it's not responding. And Bessler, I believe, has a lot of unusual ingredients in it, like marigold, and other things too. They'll have dozens of different ingredients you just don't see anywhere else. How much the fish need that kind of stuff? I don't know. It's nice to have, but again, unless it's the first three or four ingredients, you have no clue how much you're actually getting. If there's 20 ingredients in a fish food, then the first food may only be 5%. If if marigold is down on the list, number 15 on the list, yes, it's a trace amount. How much are you really getting? The same thing applies to herbal medicines. A lot of and how much you're ever getting.
So Brenton has a question. Have you looked into Repashy or
Yeah.
Glass Garden products? Yeah.
No, not Glass Garden. That doesn't sound familiar. But please send me a link if they have a guaranteed analysis. I'm always looking for foods that I haven't heard. Repressi is a little bit of a gimmick, I think. Let me close some of these other windows and see if that speed things up a little bit. Because it's being really slow to respond. Repressi. That's yeah. Repressi is the gel. I don't think the gel actually, it's an interesting marketing thing, but I don't think the gel actually saves you any money, and I don't know that it's on any of my lists. I'm trying to think. It may be on a Plecostomus diet list. Um, right? Maybe on a Plecostomus diet list. I think they may have a food that has a wood product in it. Here's one that pops up. They finally responded. Has black soldier fly larvae meal. It's a superfood. Igopo Explorer Forager Gel. Great food for Siamese fighting fish. Typical krill meal. A lot of other strange and interesting foods in it. Banana powder, squid meal, mango powder. I mean, where do you see mango powder? If you want to give mango powder to your fish, this is the way you get it. Mulberry fruit powder. I have no clue where else you get that. Dandelion powder. So Repressi and Bessler are both kind of foods where you might be getting some trace amounts, who knows how much, of some unusual foods. It does cost as much as my current average of the foods. Works out to about $53 a pound. A pound. So if you want black soldier fly larvae meal, which is the main ingredient, which is probably most of what you're getting in this food, you're really better off just going to Walmart and buying a bag of soldier food, soldier fly foods. So that's one of the Repressi foods. I guess I have like 17 of them here. Community Plus, mostly water, $3 a dry ounce. Krill, alfalfa leaf. I mean, where do you get that? Squid's very nutritious. Go to the bait shop, get some squid, either scrape it off with a fork or put it in a blender, blend it up with some vegetables and a real vitamin, not a liquid vitamin, and you'll have more nutritious food, more fun, and less cost. Here's Repressi Community Plus. Flaxseed, coconut meal, locust bean gum. Oh my goodness. Locust bean. Stinging nettle. Where do you get a food with stinging nettle? Dried watermelon, rose hips, hibiscus, marigold, paprika. Quite a few foods have paprika. And turmeric. Wow, what a variety. About $3 a dry ounce.
So I've been wanting to ask about this. What do you feel about garlic? There's like people think it's magic. People think it's baloney. I'm thinking you lean towards baloney because you're saying that Rapashi's a little bit could be a little bit I don't know, of a gimmick, like you were saying. What do you think
Um,
about that?
I I think the jury's out on the garlic. I have seen studies for fish farms saying that it has some benefit. Like herbal supplements, you may need a lot of it in your food. It is, of course, a hell of a lot cheaper to go to Walmart and buy some garlic and add it to your fish food formulas. Now, having said that, this food has garlic in it. Now, this is one of my foods. I have about a dozen commercial fish foods. And garlic, oh my goodness, garlic is what? 12th, 15th, something like that. Down on the bottom of the list there. So who knows how much garlic I'm really getting.
Yeah.
You
How
know,
about
you can
thoughts on Vitachem? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
you didn't Vitachem is water. It's water. I fed it at Moat Marine Aquarium as a volunteer there in housekeeping uh, for about 2.5 years. Um, what were we feeding? Gobies. And the gobies had a brine shrimp only diet. Very unusual. Not sure I'd recommend that. And we would soak the brine shrimp in Vitachem, and then I would feed it. We dropped it in and fed it. Vitachem, of course, is mostly liquid. You're better off buying a powder. Okay, I use, speaking of plants, Kyle, I use a Green Life powder instead of a liquid. This is Vionate. It was mentioned to me by a veterinarian. I looked it up, and oh my goodness, the guaranteed analysis is just wonderful. It's got tons and tons of minerals and elements in there. Although the main ingredient, as I'm reading here, is cornmeal. Oh, thank goodness. And then phosphate, and then calcium carbonate, which is, like chalk. Oh, and then salt. Oh, thanks. But it does have all sorts of vitamins in it, and I do add this to my fish formulas.
All right. So one thing I really want to hear about, because I've never been, like, I think I've been in the ocean once ever in my life. I
Oh,
went out to Florida, but it was during the winter, or like, when it's winter out by me, and so it was pretty cold out for you guys still. But so I didn't even get to touch the wind or the ocean at all. What is it like being a charter fishing boat captain? And then I think you worked in the Coast Guard as well, right? Because I got to get this in here before because we're
well,
gonna be running out of time here. I have to get to work, so I'll be leaving right around on the hour mark here. But
well, I am retired, and I do want to thank you people who work and pay your taxes and support me. I am a licensed Coast Guard captain. It's called a six pack. I can take out six paying passengers on a small boat unless you sign a charter agreement with the owner of the boat, and he will recommend captains to you that you can hire, and I can be one of those captains. Um, and then I can take 12, 13 people on a pontoon. And I have to
oh,
say, it's quite wonderful. I am a pancreatic cancer survivor. I had the Whipple operation 8 years ago, which is just about your only chance of surviving pancreatic cancer. And then, of course, at that time, I had to retire. There's first, you're too tired to work, and second, you have to go to chemo and radiation all the time. And then, of course, the Whipple operation, which cuts you in half and takes about a year to recover.
yeah. Recently, I hope I'm not speaking out of term here, but we had a Mexican skip work, but the community just had someone diagnosed with that, from what I understand. And he's it's yeah. So if
It's
anybody wants to
extremely,
throw KG's, link in the comment section there, man, give him as much shout out. I know he's trying to clear out his is back stock. So
It's
let's give them a shout out
extremely
if you guys
it's
can.
extremely rare. It does cluster in families, and even in family clusters, it's still rare. It's very unusual to catch it in the early stages. I was caught in the early stages, and then I did have the Whipple operation, which is just about your only chance of surviving it. So I don't get a lot of questions about fish food on Facebook or elsewhere. I have to say, but I do answer questions about pancreatic cancer on a Facebook page, and I really like to think that I am doing some good and really helping people with that.
But okay, so that little bit of yeah. So I know we had a question about is there any way that people can get a hold of your or do they just reach out to you? Can they do you have that posted anywhere? Your list?
Um, I don't have the list posted anywhere. I've I don't know what to do with it. I looked up this morning. I have 117,000 words, as you can see here, written about these foods, comparing them one to another. I don't know what to do with it. I've tried to ask people, hey, can I make money on a website? I haven't really thought about doing a podcast, although I think a podcast might be a lot less work. If somebody has a specific question, I'd be glad to provide them with a specific answer. I should have a business card around here somewhere. I think when I signed in, it asked for my email address, right? But
Yes.
I'll post it here in the chat.
Um,
And,
so Coral gave a suggestion. I don't know if you've heard of this Wet Web Media.
it's a
I
website, I think.
yeah,
It's
I'm
a
not. I
website,
don't know
right?
what.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that might be a place to get dude, because you need to get I don't know if you want to call it credit. I just want more people to see this, man, because what you put so much work into it, and I mean no one does that, man. Like
Yeah.
I love, dude, the cards. I love the cards, man. I love the cards. But yeah, I just want more people to be able to see this, give you credit for the work and the energy that you've put into it. So, chat cards.
Chat
Oh my
cards.
god.
Yeah. Well, of course, I got those right at the tail end of COVID because my audiophile groups and other meetups were doing so many, online Zooms. Plus, I can't keep my mouth shut, so it was a way of me, just adding more stuff and
Yeah.
staying active during the presentation.
So you said you haven't been on like a live stream like this before, right?
No, never have.
Dude, you are like made for it, man. You're like you're fun. Like you've had so much information locked up in your head. You're just like spitting all these facts, man. Dude, seriously, you are Mr. Flood, the aquarium economist. I love it.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you. I'm retired. I'm retired, and I'm a writer, and this is what I do. I wish I read more. When I was working, I read a book a week. I'm not doing that now, but I am doing pretty much one charter a week, and then of course on the holidays I do quite a few. I was on a black boat, a big black boat, 35 foot, 2 years ago, and I was doing 6 to 8 charters on a holiday weekend, and that was too much. So somebody says something, I go and I look it up, I research it. I'm watching a Vikings TV series now. I have to look up every character and every event and every battle and, learn about what really happened or what didn't really happen.
yeah, dude, the chat loves you, man. I don't know if you've been reading this, but they're a big fan.
That's great.
Jorge, I don't think I can get Zen Ginger a wrench right now because I'm on my phone in StreamYard. If Zen wants a wrench, I could do that eventually, but I don't think I could do that from StreamYard on my phone. Oh, oop. Hey, something fishy. What's up? But all right. So So I guess to finish up our last like 5 minutes here, do you want to talk about you because you have some fish tanks at home there, right?
Well, we just moved. Most of them are sitting outside in the carport, and I gave half of them away. There's one now that's kind of dismal looking. Nothing seems to survive. It may have something to do with the 7-inch pleco that's in there. It's a 33 with just one angelfish and a couple cories. It was devoted to the glowfish tetras that I had, but that was half a dozen years ago, and the last one just died recently. So I think that the second largest fish is a serpe tetra that's in there. And I thought about adding other things. My plants are not doing very well right now, but again, since we moved, I haven't been fertilizing the tank. I had the green leaf fertilizer powder that you have to mix with water and add every day. I got lazy. I started adding it every week. Did not work as well, by the way. So the sword plants have died back. So it's kind of a sad state of affairs. And unless I get rid of all this audio equipment in my office here, I don't really have any place to put fish tanks. So I guess I got to get rid of audio equipment.
Yeah, everyone's telling me to call in sick. I don't think I could do that though, guys. I'm sorry.
What's the wrench? Everybody else,
So-
what's the wrench?
So the wrench with live streams, you can add people as moderators, and they help control the live stream. Make sure no one's going in there and saying a bunch of nasty stuff or anything. Mainly, they can share links though, so they could share links to like websites that they need, or if you had information you wanted to share, I could tell one of them like, "Hey guys, can you send his link into the chat there?" Yeah, Goro knows. Oh my god, that's funny. I am but yeah, so the wrench is just that, yeah. And then basically some people put everyone as a wrench, and then you can click on their link in the chat here, and then you can go check out their page. So it's a little easier for everyone to just get aware of all the stuff out there. So do you watch any YouTube or anything?
No,
No?
I'm a reader. I have a Mazda Miata. I just watched some YouTube on Mazda Miata reviews. Wonderful visuals. Wow. I'm really more of a reader. I can read a lot faster than I can sit through somebody talking.
Did you say Mazda Miata reviews?
Yeah, Miata.
Yeah.
I bought a Miata a couple of years ago, and I absolutely love it.
What year Miata? Do you have one of the newer ones or one of the
2019.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't think I could afford a sports car. It did cost me $100 a month more than a boring SUV. But as I can see, I'm a little older. No kids to put through college or anything like that. So I decided to go for it. Oh, and I was making good money at the time because I was almost full time as a captain. I'm not full time now.
I gotcha. So, is the Miata a rotary?
No.
No, just straight regular, right?
Yeah, 4-cylinder, 181 horsepower, 0 to 60 in less than 6 seconds. And I know that from the guaranteed analysis.
I love that callback, man. That is perfect. That is fun. That is fun, man. Yeah, I've always wanted a Miata. I'm not gonna lie. They look just so fun, like small. Just you could just go through the turns like crazy, stable, like real fun. I'm a bit of a car guy. Kind of gave it up because cars are. I picked one expensive hobby, so I think I can only do one.
Yeah, you can't do both. But the Miata, I want to say it's great for running around town, but actually it's not a very good commuter car. And people talk about taking long road trips. Well, I have a cushion that I immediately put in, on the seat. I have racing gloves. I recently added earplugs. I hate to say it, but like if I'm driving an hour up to Tampa, I put the wheel down and I put on the racing gloves. And when I get there, I notice a big difference if I use them or don't use them. If I don't use them, I'm kind of worn out from the road vibration. And I recently added earplugs because, let's face it, with the top down, you're talking 90, 95 decibels, and that's hard on your ears for an extended period of time. So I haven't.
Yeah.
They're in the car. I haven't used them yet, but they're in the car, and I think I might use them just to protect the ears, hopefully for the next 20 years.
For sure. All right, so we just hit our hour here. Colin, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This has been so fun. You never, dude, you never know like how these are gonna go. But you are a freaking natural, man. So good, smooth. If you're ever interested in coming back up here and you want to hang out with all of us, the invitation is always open. All right. To address the chat, I know you guys hate the vertical live streams. To be honest, I liked doing them because it made kind of a fun. It seemed more fun with the fishy news thing, but I don't think I'm gonna do the vertical lives. It does record better and it watches better when you repost on the horizontal. So that's why we did horizontal today. We'll probably continue doing horizontal here. I'll get probably gonna get off my phone so I could do this in a different way. I'll probably try to stream from my GoPro connected to my computer. I think I could figure that out. But all right, guys. I got to take off here. Colin, thank you so much again. Like I said, for your time here, and always welcome to have you back here. I think everybody loved it. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. All right.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear.
All right. Catch you later, man.